Can you imagine trying to work with some veneer that's puckered like a potato chip? Impossible, right? Well, it's not. And I'm going to share with you the method for flattening and using beautiful veneers like this Carpathian elm burl. Stay tuned. All right. Well, I have loved working with veneers over the years, and some of my favorites are burl veneers like this Mappa burl. But it comes with a price. You've got to tame the rippliness in it. Check this out. This is a piece of apple wood that we cut just a few weeks ago. And many of you wondered, would it stand the test of time? Well, a lot of it didn't do so well. It cupped and split and did some weird stuff. But that's apple wood for you, as I found out and had so many nice comments about. This piece of apple wood, you can see how warped it is looking along the top. It didn't survive so well either. But this is the nature of thicker wood. It will warp out. But as the material gets thinner and thinner, as it dries, it shows much more dramatically the weirdness that it's going to go to as it dries. So if this was even thinner, it would cup even more. Or if it was the thinness of veneer, it would bubble like this Mappa burl. A burl consists of all wood grain going in all different directions. So when it dries, it shrinks and it just gets really wonky. So how do you tame this? Well, we're going to get into that in just a second. Hey, I just want to say, if you enjoy this content, please consider subscribing, like, comment, all that good stuff, but especially head over to our website, epicwoodworking.com, where you can find out about all the great content we have over there. You can build projects along with me. It's the closest thing to the apprenticeship experience yes. I enjoyed with Pug Moore over 30 years ago. Wow. So I hope you'll check that out, and especially check out the neighborhood. We've got an awesome course coming up soon that I'm going to be talking about. Actually, next Shop Night Live, I'll definitely be introducing it. All right, so we've got this type of burl, but other woods that need taming or flattening are crotch-figured material like this Macore crotch. This is just a cutoff. This was a huge sheet, and I've used this on a number of pieces. Looks stunning, doesn't it? You should see when the finish gets on there. Yeah. And then I've used a lot over the years, the classic crotch mahogany. Look at that. Can you see how it, is it?
Yeah, it's showing.
Is it chatoying?
It is.
There it is. All right, so this is actually a duplicate set of some I used on a pier table, and I did at one time possibly flatten this, but look at how this is rocking and rolling. So that's got a real ripply effect to it. Now, it's a little brittle, and if you tried cutting it when it's rolling like this, in order to get a good seam, you'd put a straight edge and press it down, and quite often it would crack and split, and you can't get a good edge on it. So you've got to flatten it in order to work with it. And it would be nice if in the flattening, it got a little more supple. You know, you could handle it. It wasn't as cracky and brittle. So I'm going to show you, this is one of the hardest, this is one of the easier woods. This will flatten fairly easily. It's not that bad. But I want to do a little experiment with you now with the worst veneer I have ever dealt with. And that is what I started off showing you, this Carpathian elm burl. I mean, check that out. After working with it, I realized why I got such a good deal on it. Actually, most burl is troublesome like this. This may have gotten wet at some time and then dried again because it's so bad. But I want to show you how we'll deal with this. We actually did a project using this some time ago. If you're a long-time follower of Shop Night Live, how many years ago?
It was actually August of 2019, around that time frame. For 14 or so weeks, you went through.
Right, and we did, what do we call
Long
it? The original designing a coffee table, something like that?
Yeah, it was a whole step-by-step from design concept all the way to the end.
Yeah, and it was one of the more out there designs. It was a lot of fun. It wasn't so deep like a course, but it was thorough. So if you want to check out, if you're curious about design, I'm going to show you a picture of that after. But let's just see about handling veneer like this.
Yeah, I did add it in the description, a link to the whole series in the playlist down there. So if you have people are talking about snow, if you have a weather day and you can, several hours, you could watch the whole thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're supposed to finally get some snow this weekend. All right, so the technique to flatten veneer like this is to use a glycerin-based mixture. There's all kinds of concoctions that are put together with varying proportions, but basically a veneer softening or flattening solution consists of water, glycerin, denatured alcohol, and sometimes glue. You know what? I don't bother. I don't bother buying all the stuff. You can buy glycerin, just buy it already mixed, and you save yourself a lot of hassle. You can do it any number of ways. I do not add the glue, which is recommended on some of these things, but I'm just concerned that that's gonna inhibit in some way the quality and richness of the finish, but that is done sometimes too. But like I said, you can go out, you can just buy the pre-mixed veneer softener. Here's some from, where did I get this? From Veneer Supplies, I believe, and they call it veneer softener. It's a relaxing agent. I'm not so sure. I've rubbed this all over, not relaxed at all.
How did I know that was coming? So,
but it's supposed to work on wood.
predictable.
I don't know. But the veneer tamer is the same stuff. So this you can get from Veneer Supplies. Sorry, I didn't give you the link. This is this I've used great success as well. This is from Vacuum Pressing Systems. They mix it up. They sell it in half gallon and a gallon. It's pretty inexpensive for what it is, and it goes a long way. But I would, we do have a link for this in there. Now, in the past, I used to buy gallons of it, and it would be concentrated, and you have to cut it with water, almost like antifreeze sometimes, in order to make it work. Now, check on, if you do buy it online, check on the bottle if it says concentrate must dilute with water. If it doesn't say anything, then use it as is. I talked to Darryl Keel, the owner of Vacuum Pressing Systems, and asked him about this. I said, what's up with this softening agent? Where do you guys get this? He said, everybody gets it from the same place. So sometimes they are pre-cut it and sometimes they don't. This stuff has been, this is ready to go out of the bottle. So you can just use it as is. Now, it's got the glycerin in there. That's the key element that does the softening. I've got it in a spray bottle and I just marked it veneer tamer. And all you do is you want to spritz it with water on both sides. Now, because a lot of this is end grain, it wicks right through to the other side very quickly. Where you have side grain, not so fast, but you can see around those knots where it's really wild, it starts to wick through. So you want to saturate, so you want to hit it from the other side too. So check that out. See how it's coming through in those areas. You know those are more end grain. But oh my gosh, this wood is so beautiful. Honestly, I've only made that coffee table using it, but I can't wait to get another project. I'm actually making a little round tabletop using it soon. There it is. So now it's saturated, right? So you've got to let that kind of absorb and let the wood relax, all right? So to do that, you're gonna just set it aside for a little bit. And sometimes I'll come back and it'll start looking dry faster in certain places, and I'll just wet it again. You wanna really make sure it had time getting with the saturation point, but you wanna wait until it no longer looks soaked like that, okay? See how you've got water on the surface? Make sure you get full penetration. I can already feel it's almost like you put water on it, but the glycerin is what's going to let it become almost plasticized, you know.
So you have said water. You mean the tamer. You've mentioned water you're spraying, but it's the tamer. I think
yeah. Oh, did I say water? No, this is the veneer tamer.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're only going to use this when the veneer is too wavy or puckered to deal with. Once I've got that set, I'm going to put it aside. I visited a veneer guy about an hour from here. In fact, he's the guy I got this from. Did a lot of work for New York City. And he was in his later career, but he had several clotheslines, and he would just clip it up and let it hang there and spritz it and then let it kind of dry off and then go with the next step. The next step is to put it between two flat surfaces, before you do, put some paper on both sides and then press it. The paper will absorb the extra moisture and the flat surfaces will get it down to flatness. So it's wet, it's starting to relax, but this one needs more time. I've got another one here that I did a little earlier. Oh boy, I can feel this is very relaxed. It's ready for flattening, okay? But you can see it looks like it's got a drier surface, but there's still hints of shininess there. So we're gonna put this in between some flat surfaces. And that's kind of the color you get when you finish it. It's just stunning. Anyway, let's do this. I'm gonna put, what we're gonna do is use a vacuum press for this. That's about the best way I know to put good pressure on it. And in order to do it, we'll have a platen on the bottom like this. Just a piece of 3/4 MDF, and we're going to sandwich our veneer between a piece of paper. Now, if you have some thicker, like brown paper, that's even better. But you want it to be pretty flat. You want to coax this thing flat. So I've already sized this paper.
Don't use paper with print on it.
No, the paper with print on it will telegraph through, and you'll see the funny pages on your work. All right, so I can press this. I don't want to go for it right now, but I'm just going to put it, now I'm going to just put a 1/4 inch caul on top. You could use thicker, but we'll get it centered. And now if I just gently press down, okay, that's a good sign. I don't hear any cracking. But this is by far, the worst veneer. And it's very difficult. I have found, experimenting with it numerous times, it's very difficult to get it flat without some puckers. All right, so let's go. And this is the Raw Rocket. This is the manual bag press. I was doing this fast. I would have just put it in my motor, my powered press, and it would be super simple. But this is pretty simple too. And for like 75 bucks, the whole setup, you can't beat it if you want to try vacuum pressing. All right, I'm gonna just take off the goop sticky tape and we'll press it on there. Just gonna get a nice little bond going.
I can't remember if I put the link down there yet, but I thought I did.
The link for Raw Rocket? Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is Raw Rocket.
If I didn't, I will.
Yeah. It's Roar with Rocket. The Roar Rocket. It's only one R in the middle, and the kit at the end is KIT. So you can get this set up. This is like the 26 by 26 bag, I think. All right, so now I've got it sealed, and I'm going to remove the air.
Oh, I did put it there. Yeah, it's there.
Let's get the help with the vacuum. Okay. I heard some tiny little cracks, but we're not gonna, we expect some. This is just crazy. Okay, now this is like a reverse basketball pump. I'm pulling the air out, achieving a full atmospheric pressure bond, which is 14 pounds per square inch. It's not that, you don't have to go that crazy. If you don't have a vacuum press, you can put heavy weights on top of this to flatten it. Now, I'm gonna let it stay in there. Sometimes I let it stay in there overnight, and then you're going to actually change out the paper. You'll pop it apart, get rid of that paper. It's gonna be damp, quite damp. Then you'll throw another piece of paper. You repeat this so that you do at least 2 cycles of paper, sometimes 3, just to make sure that it's fully flat and you've wicked out a lot of the moisture. Now, when you use it, you can still, it still feels almost wet or slightly damp. And that's this hygroscopic nature of the glycerin. It holds water. That's your big word for tonight. And, but don't worry about it. I've used it in that state many times and done sunbursts and all kinds of glue ups, and it works beautifully. So never had a problem with it at all. All right, so I'll let this one set up. Let's set it over here. And of course, you know it. I've got one coming out of the oven. All right, so here's one. This, I just had this in the press, and I just put some buckets on top just to hold it a little flatter.
Could you do more than 1 sheet at a time, Tom?
I have, you know, sure you can, but you got to stack it like with layers. When I have done this, like where I put 2 sheets of paper, then another piece of veneer, 2 sheets of paper, another piece of veneer. But what happens is it gets really, it's too wet in there. It's better if you have partitions like dividers with the paper between. So if you got like 1/8 inch material or 1/4 inch MDF, you could put pieces, because I've done that. It's too much moisture and it got really wavy. All right, so let's see what happens. So it's gonna look a little damp like this. This one I actually put 2 pieces of paper on it. And here is the flattened veneer. Now this one, it's a little annoying because you can see I still have ripples. Those will press out when they go in the vacuum press. But the thing that concerns me most is this, like, overlap. So can you see that on the camera? Mm-hmm. It's like it overlapped, and this happened during that coffee table course too. So right there and there. And what I did in the course to correct that was I just took a knife and a straight edge, and I just sliced right down through both layers and pulled out the excess piece and then taped it together, and it was like a beautiful incision, sutured up, seamless. One of the great things about using a wild dynamic material like this is that it's very hard to see things like that. And I did a number of plugs on some of these knots. On some of the pieces, there were knot holes so big, I just did a stamp plug of that. So here's another piece I did later. Now I soaked this one. I was doing an experiment a bit where I wet this one well, and then I let it sit quite a while. Then I wet it again, let it sit quite a while and started to dry out. Now this really needs another press. This has only gone this one time, so that would probably, I can still feel it's a little too damp. I would run it again. But I've got another piece under here that I let dry out a little bit more, and this one seems to have done a little better. But it's funny, I got the exact same overlap in the exact same spot, like that knot, and I think there was one over here. Right there. It was like in the same location relative to that knot. So for some reason, this material, when it did get flattened down, there was just too much in the terms of how much it had shrunk. It just would not lay flat right there. But this is the only veneer I've ever had that challenge with. All the others go dead flat and are very friendly to cut, like the crotch and even that Mappa burl, no problem. But this Carpathian elm was crazy. But it is quite supple, relaxed, and I would do another course with the paper and the press to get it. So you can actually tame this stuff. Where's the original? Oh, there they are.
I got a question for you. When
Yeah.
you introduce glue to the veneer, does it repucker?
Say that again?
When you introduce glue to the veneer, does it repucker?
No, no, no. You're not really putting any glue directly on the veneer. You'll put the glue on the substrate, and when you put that veneer on there, it acts just like every other veneer. So you want to keep it in the flattening process as long as possible. Then I cut it to size just before I'm ready, and then go ahead and lay out your glue and treat just the same way. And you need to put a good caul on top of it as well, so it goes down well. Now I did all those little healing cuts where I had that slight little overlap in a few spots. Did that prior to the press, so prior to gluing it down. So you're gonna do that then. If you wait till after, you're not gonna, it just won't lay as flat. Okay, it'll already be kind of glued at an up and over.
How long do you figure you have before you use between flattening and using the veneer?
I've used it many times the next day. So I'll do this treatment, let it go overnight, change the paper a few times, and then the next day.
What if you needed to wait longer? Would it pucker up again?
No, just keep it between the presses.
Okay.
And I've kept it for a week or two. You can keep it a while, just keep it between flat material. Yeah, I've used it a couple weeks later. If it's not so crazy, you know, I haven't kept this because I'm usually working immediately with this. But let's see if I can match this up. All right.
And our best source for veneer that we know of is certainly wood.
Yeah, certainly wood is great.
Is
I'm not sure what they're getting for Carpathian elm. Maybe if somebody's on their site now, you could check that out. If they even have Carpathian elm burl. I have found it's quite pricey, so it's nice that I have this little bit of stock, even though it's challenging to work with. But you can see from looking at this piece, I don't know if you can tell it, but look that's the deepest ripple. There's so much material right there, and that's the exact spot.
looks like terrain.
Yeah, it's a topographical map. So that is the worst spot where I'm getting that little overlap. So if we do match this up, let's see, is that correct? No.
If you could somehow predict that it was going to overlap like that, what if you cut it before? The idea was shared that maybe you cut it before you.
It's just, you can't figure that. You can't know for sure. Because a lot of places went flat that I thought were problematic, but it's actually not bad cutting it after. And if you're really into this, you could look at that course and find the video where I get into that. And
this is the course that we have that's available in the link below.
Yeah, it's a free course. It's part of Shop Night Live. I did this 4 years ago. I was into this course. I wanted to do a creative course.
Yeah, it was
so I didn't go totally, it's not exactly step by step, but I did go through a progression, and you saw this coffee table. I'm going to show you a few photos of it in just a second.
It was around episode 13 of our now 220. So it was early, so the production's going to be a little different. But
yeah, so you can see just this area. See how wavy this is? And see how flat and how pliable this is. It's very, it's got a real nice, almost like a leather feeling to it. So it's amazing, but that glycerin mixture will make a dramatic change and give you a chance to work with this beautiful veneer. Let me show you this project that we did and how that ended up coming out. I laid it quite flat.
Tom, you mentioned when you're storing it that you should put it between paper. Does it need to be weighted as well?
I usually try to keep the weights, not just paper, but I try to put it back in between the things I was flattening it with, so that as long as you keep that flat, it doesn't go back. It has to really dry out again over some time. But here, this is a close in of the coffee table, and I had this frog I did not carve, got it in Indonesia. Is that good like that?
That's good.
Okay. But you can see this design has this funky wenge legs, and we ended up calling it the lily pad table. So it was like 3 discs of asymmetrical, and I sized the disc by the Carpathian elm. That's the Carpathian elm. Isn't it awesome?
We'll see a full picture in a minute.
Yeah, and so I just had that carved frog from Indonesia. It looked good on the top of the table. And that is that imaginative coffee table. So these are meant to look like reeds coming and popping through the lily pads there where there's 2, and then 1 over here and here. You can see the whole development of this concept right from sketch to a more stable drawing and then adding these laminated curved stretchers at the bottom later on. And in the process of going through that, like deciding, should we add them or not? Because initially there were no stretchers once we got the table built. And I love actually how that looked, and it added kind of an interesting visual counterbalance to just having the top and the reeds. Almost like movement below, as if there were fish swimming and making little currents below that.
It was fun to go through because it was evolving each session.
Yeah, and we were combining the wenge with the beautiful Carpathian elm, and there you can truly see just the deep, rich color and swirling eddies. It really is almost like...
That table lives in South Carolina now.
Yeah. So I'm going to have to make another one if I want one around here. So that might be a course down the road, but we've got some simpler fish to fry before that one.
Did you want to show the video? You're good.
I don't have the video on this.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah.
Right.
I have a video showing the whole thing, but that covers it. I mean, that's the table. So.
Wow. Yeah. Carpathian elm pearl on other sites is running from $80 to well over $100 a sheet.
How big is a sheet?
Oakwood veneers is over 1,000.
Oh yeah, they might be. A lot of those guys, they already lay it up for you on a piece of larger panel, like a plywood, like a 4x8 sheet. So yeah, that's going to be crazy. I'm wondering in the veneer form what it is a square foot, but it takes some work to get to use it. But this, if you can tame this type of burl, you can do anything, because I've never seen it worse or better than this.
Yeah, it's 14 sessions, 14 episodes, and the playlist link is right below in the description. It's free. You can watch it.
Yeah, if you don't feel like you got enough content right here, you can go binge on that.
It's been tucked away. Let's see. Question for you. Nathan has some long pieces of veneer. Do I have to cut them before flattening? How would I flatten long pieces? Use long or multiple lengths of MDF?
Well, Nathan, if I was using a long piece, I would cut it almost like regular solid wood. I'd rough cut it into approximate lengths you're going to be dealing with, just to make it easier to handle and to flatten. If you for some reason needed it to cover a long straight piece, you wouldn't want to cut it. So there you'd have to have like a couple of pieces of plywood, or if you had some planks around that were nice and flat, you could sandwich it between there, and you can just put some clamps on the opposite sides. I've done that too. Like I just couldn't get one across here, but I could have put a caul across and just clamped it. You don't need to put it in a press. I'm just used to doing that because it's so easy and reliable. And usually I have the press set up and I would just shoot it right in there. But I would cut it down to make it more easy to handle, and rather than keeping it super long lengths. But that's up to you. All right, everyone. Well, I hope you enjoyed this little trip and see how the impossible really is possible with flattening this kind of crazy veneer. So I hope you enjoyed that, and if you did, remember to like, share, and subscribe. And on behalf of the camera lady and myself,
Yes.
we look forward to seeing you next time, right back here on Shop Night Live. Whatever you make it epic. See you next time.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thanks so much.